Hey, welcome to HYPERIZED episode 4. I'm your host, Hyperdrive. This is take 2. We got about 10 minutes into the first interview, and I realized I had not hit the record button. What are you going to do, right?
Technology.
Right. As with me is a really awesome dude, an awesome customizer and diorama builder. Eric, you know him as Galactic Artisan Customs. Eric, go ahead and say hey.
How's it going, Hyper? Thank you for having me back. I'm excited to be here and talk about the stuff that's been going on these last couple months.
It's awesome to have you back because when we met in June for the first time, you had been diving into your world. You've been creating this world over the past year. And you have some absolutely beautiful diorama pieces and some fantastic looking customs. And back then, a couple of months ago, when we said we'd follow up in August, there would be some progress done in that world, the world building, the figures. And I'm hoping that you have some really cool stuff to show us as a follow up to that first part.
I do. So the planet is definitely growing. We got a lot going on there. Just a real quick reminder on everything. So my planet is called Nexarion. It's kind of like Earth. It's got a bunch of different biomes, so I can kind of create whatever I want going on there. And then the city that I'm building right now is called Arcos. It's kind of similar to Mos Eisley. It's a desert city. Just got a lot going on there. But yeah, just building shops and creating characters, giving them all backstory and lore and stuff. It's a good time.
So it's kind of funny because I wrote down Nexarion, and every time I write it in an email or a text message to myself to get the notes going for the show, it wants to autocorrect to Mexico. So in my mind, Nexarion is Mexico. So
they're close.
Yeah, they're kind of close, right? Right. So all right, so let's get right into it and do a follow up. So let's see some of the figures and some of the. Tell us about what you've been able to accomplish in the last couple of months.
Let's see here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Move just a little bit. I'm gonna bump my desk if I'm not careful.
No problem,
All right,
man.
so I know I was working on the Void Runners before. I think I briefly mentioned them.
Yes.
We've done a little bit of work on them since then. So let me grab them. They've all got heads now. So I've got this is Achilles, I believe. He's got Din Djarin's head. It's not on, so he's just kind of chilling there. But
can you put it a little bit closer to the camera?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, that looks nice, helps. Man. Yes. Well, I like that armor detailing. It looks really good.
So I did some gold flake on him, and then Rit dyed it after the gold flake was there. That turned out pretty cool. This is one of my favorite ones. So I put the head sculpt on him. This is Ludin, I think. Now I can't remember their names. I'm drawing a blank. But I got these all written down. They're posted and stuff on my Instagram.
That looks awesome.
The hard thing about naming all these people and all these backstories is I got so many of them, so I'm starting to get them confused with each other.
Oh, definitely. That's why I do bad guy number 7. That's about as complicated as my names go.
And then we've got the last one here. This is Malum.
Oh, I like that. Look at that weapon. That looks awesome.
And that's Lando's, what is it, that vibro staff thing?
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so those are our Void Runners. So they basically hunt down Sith relics and stuff. They're trying to destroy those, get rid of them from the galaxy. They just don't like them. But Achilles here, he's kind of like the main one. He's kind of getting drawn to the dark side through that. So that's pretty crazy. Got a lot going on there. They stay in Arcos. And there's another group that I got going on. This is going to be the Emerald Squad. It's another part of Nexarion, but so here's one of the troops there.
Oh yeah, I love those. Those are the shore trooper based ones that you've done recently.
Yeah, these are hover tank drivers.
Yes.
I Rit dyed them, so this is what a finished one looks like. After the initial Rit dye, they don't really take it all the way, so I got a lot of white parts left on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do a little bit of touch up with some paint. But I think the finished result is pretty cool.
So let me ask you something. So I've had a lot of feedback from people who've tried the Rit dye, the synthetic Rit dye. You seem to have good results, but I think you've learned over the course of doing it a few times. different plastics take the dye differently, right?
They do.
And different colors uh, don't always go the way you want them to. So you have to kind of work within what it gives you. You sort of take what's given, right? Do
Yeah.
you, do you have any advice when it comes to the Rit dyeing? Uh, how to saturate it as dark and richly as possible so that it doesn't fade and that type of a thing.
Honestly, what I've started doing is just not expecting. Yeah, just go into it expecting to be surprised because you never know what kind of plastic the figure is made out of.
Right.
Each piece is made out of something different sometimes, so every figure's different. I mean, you're gonna have to add stuff after sometimes, and it's just part of the customizing. I leave it in the dye a lot longer than I feel like most people. Like I've left some figures in there for 45 minutes before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've taken them apart. I've put them in there piece by piece. I've put in full figures in there. It's just it depends on what you're trying to do. It's a trial and error thing, though. Basically, a lot of error.
And I remember the last time we spoke, you were talking about, and you and I kind of have the same approach that a dark wash is not necessarily ideal for what you're trying to achieve when it comes to weathering. And you like to have a lighter approach sometimes and use the weathering powders and things like that. I find that the Rit dye and the weathering powders are like a match made in heaven. Is that what you find as well?
I do. So here, let's get back over here.
Yeah.
Ooh, caused a shelf avalanche there. So I'll use a wash and then I'll put weathering powders. I'll use a little bit of everything, but you don't want to overdo it with anything. I feel like
Right.
they're all on a team, and you want them to kind of come together.
That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, and I usually put the weathering powder. I saw a video how you do it too, and I have a different. Everybody does something different. So you were kind of brushing it on where I'll kind of like flick it on there to where you get like chunks of it on there, and then I'll
Sure.
put the clear coat over that. But I mean, I love seeing how everybody does stuff different. It's so cool.
That's the thing, the weathering powders, they behave entirely differently than a wash, obviously, and the way that they can blend. So what I like to do is I like to dye or paint a surface and then allow the weathering powders to sort of alter the color slightly one piece to the next, and that's how you get variation in weathering and slight differences in colors and things. And I like the way those things tend to enhance the colors that you have as a base.
They do. They're fun. They're definitely. I'm glad I picked those up when I did. They're a great tool to use for customs.
Yeah.
I think everybody should have a couple packs of weathering powders.
Now, tell me a little bit. Recently, you've done some absolutely killer diorama with rocks. You've done some really nice rock canyons and things like that. Do you have those within arm's reach to take a look at real quick?
This is a small room, so everything's in arm's reach.
Nice. All right.
Let me grab that real quick. Hold on, I'm moving mountains here.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Let's see if I can. Yeah.
Looks beautiful.
So
Look at that.
Let me grab the phone though.
Yeah.
So we got this whole canyon set up. I made it for a 6-inch scale figure, but
Yep.
I mean the 3 3/3 scale looks pretty good in there too.
Yep.
I don't have a weathered one right here, but I mean, that's a good time. He's gonna fall, but yeah, I used some model sand for the bottom. I got like little rocks in there.
Yep.
All the boulders and everything that you see are made out of insulation foam.
Nice. Yep.
You can kind of see the back of it there. But
Yep.
it's like a little movie set.
It's a great looking piece. I love the way you do the rocks. And, I do a lot of rocks myself, and that's an entirely different technique than what I've done. I use the insulation foam, but the way you achieve that effect is entirely different than how I've done it. And I'm going to kind of base my next diorama around what you're doing, because I really love the effect.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say the way that you do rocks is different than my technique too, but I love how they come out. I like the layers that you got going on and stuff is just really cool.
So when you make those rocks, are you carving it out of the foam, or are you using a Mod Podge of some sort or some sort of plaster to get the rock features? How are you doing it?
So you can. I take a base layer of that pink foam, right, and
Yep.
I'll carve kind of like ridges and stuff into that,
Yeah.
and then I've got like thinner sheets of like just packing foam or whatever,
Yep.
which works great for carving like little rock faces into, and then you can kind of add layers to it that way. And then I'll just put spackle over everything and kind of sand it down.
Yep.
And then when I'm starting to worry about if it looks right is usually when I stop, because that's when it's all right.
Right. Right.
So yeah, my mind is a weird place there. But yeah, no, it's you
So
just got to try.
you're like me. You never throw away a piece of packing foam because you're like, I could make something out of that,
I've
right?
got a closet full of boxes
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, for
everything.
sure. How do you cut it? Are you using an X-Acto knife, a hobby knife, a wire cutter, foam? What are you doing? How do you do
I
that?
would like one of those hot wire cutters, but
Yep.
I am primitive and still using an X-Acto knife.
Well, so one of the most recent pickups I bought was I actually have two foam cutters. I have the table one that's almost like a table saw, which is pretty cool for large pieces. And then I bought myself a handheld one to get uh, more finer, detailed shapes and things. And I bought that one on sale for like $12.
That's not
And
bad.
it was just a handheld one, and I have found that that is such a valuable tool, and it really makes everything come out. Because it's handheld, I find that I have more dexterity with it, so I can do all kinds of different things with it. And the table one is great. Like I said, if you're cutting large sort of primary pieces, and then the smaller foam cutter that's handheld is just so great for getting into places and doing things almost like you're carving a pumpkin or something,
Yeah.
and so if you ever see one for like $15, I would definitely recommend grabbing one, because I think just for the sake of time, it's so awesome.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
just like,
definitely on the lookout for one. It seems like a good tool to have.
it's pretty cool, man. Yeah, but anyways, the way that you do the rocks, the way that but not only that, but your subject matter. So when it comes to Nexerian, so that's the look, that canyon that you just showed us. That's the planet. That's a typical scene from your planet, right?
I mean, that's in one of the biomes, but yeah, like
Okay.
the Emerald Squad that I showed you, they're
Yep.
kind of in a forest. I haven't decided where on the planet yet, but they're somewhere else on the planet. I think that one's called the Cthulhan Forest. Haven't figured out how to pronounce it, but I can spell it for you.
I dig it. I
Um,
dig it.
but yeah, no, it's just a bunch of stuff going on the planet. I think I've built most in the desert, just because that feels like the most Star Wars to me. But
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
branching out.
So now when it comes to buildings, I know you've got some buildings in production as well. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
All right. Can you show us? Can you give us a sneak peek of what's going on
Yeah,
in progress?
gonna have to get up here. So,
Yep.
I'm gonna walk over. Let me figure out how's it going, guys. Back camera. All right. So, we are adding a second floor to the whole city here.
Yep.
And then let's see here. I don't have the lights too bright in here. I'm sorry about that. But I added this little market stall in since the last time you've been here.
Yep.
This Orax stall, he sells like scavenge parts and everything. He's got his little droid there. Good stuff, though. The street's coming to life now. Added some wires to the walls, all of that. And then we've got our upstairs. This is going to be a little apartment. It's going to be a custom character. I know Timbo's got like a little Mandalorian of himself, so I'm thinking I might have to do the same thing. And this might be his apartment.
I dig that.
And then over here, this is going to be the upper deck of the cantina bar. Oh, we got Maul chilling there, just looking sexy.
Right. Oh yeah, that's that custom mall you did, which is awesome.
But yeah, and then all of this is cool because it's modular, so I can. Lost a piece there, but it's modular, so I can grab one piece off, lift it up.
Yep.
I can look in Vexars. I can do the same with the cantina over here. So it's pretty cool. Once I keep adding more, I'm just going to keep like making modular pieces that I can add and take off.
So now, one of the things that a lot of people might not be aware of is we have a really interesting chat group going on Instagram. It's called the Stoned and Hyper Crew, and a lot of customizers and collectors come together on that. It's sort of co-run with. I'm a co-host on the Stoned and Hyper show with the Stone Mandalorian, who's a really great guy, and he's dabbled into the diorama world a little bit himself. And the reason I mention it is because just the other day, you on that thread, you mentioned that sometimes the figures or the worlds, the buildings that you're doing, they speak to you and they tell you what colors they want you to be. Is that some that's kind of the quote, the paraphrase, right? But
Yeah.
right.
So sometimes if I can't like pin down what I want to do with a figure, I'll just I'll sit it on my desk somewhere where it's gonna stare at me and it's
Yep.
just gonna watch me and taunt me, and then it'll tell me what I need to color it, and it comes to me. So I feel like that's just part of my process.
That's so funny you should mention that because I do that myself. I do that myself. In fact, I'll even do it with a piece of like foam core board. And I might have a particular scene or a diorama that I want to build, but that particular piece of foam core is like, no, this is what I want to be. And then I sort of follow what I'm hearing it tell me to do. So it's funny that you mentioned that because that's actually my process as well. And it seems like when you listen to that inner monologue, you hit a home run every time because they are just beautiful color palettes that you have. And the last time we spoke back in June, I think I told you or I said something along the lines of your color palette is just like the most Star Wars palette I think I've ever seen as far as the muted tones, the weathering, the the colors that you use. You just have that discerning eye that seems to nail especially things like Imperials and troopers. You've just got that great, it sort of harkens back to the World War II influences that the Star Wars original movies had, and you just really really nail it. But the worlds and the things that I'm seeing, that little diorama that you just showed of that particular building is like the most Star Wars looking setup I've ever seen. You just have a
Yes.
great eye for that, man. You
I
have a great
appreciate
eye
it.
for that. And sometimes I know when I am doing my own dioramas, it's sometimes hard to stay within people don't realize that it's actually harder to try to stay within the scope of a particular frame of reference like Star Wars. You can't just go off in any direction because otherwise it loses the focus of what the piece is trying to be. It has to look like Star Wars. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and if you start kind of going in odd directions with it, like, and I find I do that all the time. Half the time I rip out a diorama and I'm like, that doesn't, I know what I want to do, but it doesn't work in this environment because it doesn't look like Star Wars. It looks more like G.I. Joe or something like that. And you have to
Yeah.
kind of remember what universe you're in, and you just do it every time, man, every
I
time. So
appreciate it. That's actually something I'm working on with the diorama too. So I'm trying to expand right now, which we were just talking about. But I was thinking of more like shops and stuff I can build, and I was kind of thinking how you see a lot of like cantinas and stuff like that in the films and all of that, but you never
yeah,
see like their everyday. Like, what are they doing? You know.
right.
So I'm trying to figure out like a little grocery store type thing, like a little market type place, just stuff like that, like real places that they would need to like survive on that planet.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just working on stuff like that. But again, it's like you said, it's hard because you have it's got to be Star Wars. So
Yeah, right, right. And I've been very fortunate because the people I've interviewed on Hyperize so far, you're all very different. You have a diverse talent set. But you yet somehow you all keep it together. Like Timbo Toys. If you haven't seen Timbo Toys, I highly suggest you take a look at his work because
great
he's
stuff.
another one. He has a very different look than your work or mine, but it somehow is also very Star Wars-ish. So you can go in a lot of different directions. You can use a lot of different colors, and as long as you have that eye, it always kind of stays within the Star Wars context. Another guy, the last episode we did, Wentzilla, who Josh is an incredibly talented customizer, has like the most extreme color palette you've ever seen. I don't know if you saw that episode, but
Yeah.
it's wild, and yet somehow it works because he knows how far he can go and still stay within the scope of what he's trying to achieve, you know,
He
and
definitely does some wild stuff. I
he
love
does
both of
some.
their work.
It's crazy, right? Yeah, it's crazy. So but yeah, I your work in particular. It reminds me a lot of mine in the sense that it's a little bit more, I think, uh mainstream original trilogy looking than other people's work. You know, we kind of you in particular have that just nailed down. You have that on lock, and I love that. You know, just the way that you mold and sculpt and shape and color everything is really really good.
I
So
appreciate that.
yeah. So where do you see? Let's say in 2 months we catch up again. Where do you see your world going in the next 2 months before the next update? What do you have in store for it?
Um, I've, I've got a lot of brainstorming like sessions that I've been going through trying to figure out which buildings I want to build next.
Yep.
I know that the upper deck of the cantina is being worked on now, which means I have to do the cantina.
Yep.
And then with that, I had the story of how droids got banned from my cantina, so they started a droids only cantina. So I got to build that too. Just a bunch more shops. So and then I'm gonna go modular with it, so I can add them to it. I want to do a mechanic shop. There's a bunch of stuff brewing. So
Droids only cantina. I remember that was one of the highlights of the last Mandalorian season. Was it last Mandalorian season? And they went into the droid bar or whatever it was. I thought that was really cool. And so
I
I
don't
like
even
the
remember that. Now I got to rethink it, but I'm gonna have to watch that again.
yeah, it was like Bo-Katan and Mando go in and they're questioning a droid or something like that. But it was a droids only establishment. And I thought that was really cool. So
Dang. I mean, you can pull. It's weird how you pull ideas from something that you don't even remember seeing. So, you know.
well, you know, I've got a few dioramas in the works right now, and but one of the ones I've always wanted to do, and I think I'm going to put it on the list for end of this year, beginning of next year, is I was one of the 5 people who really loved the Solo movie. I thought the Solo movie, it wasn't the best movie, but there were a lot of really great scenes, and I thought that the card games, the Sabacc game scenes, were really cool with all the aliens. They had some really spectacular looking aliens, and I've always wanted to try to do a diorama of that Sabacc game where Lando loses the Millennium Falcon to Han. And that's kind of a thing that I don't do a lot of, is um, that sort of interior cantina type of look. So I'm looking forward to doing that, just like you are. It sounds like so. Yeah.
It's fun. The interiors are a whole different ball game, but I mean, it's all fun.
So you know, I've done a lot of interiors over my time being a diorama builder, but I've always stayed away from the cantina because everybody does one. So I was like, you know, I don't want to just do the same type of looking cantina that we've seen 10,000 times online. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with it, because I have this feeling that you're going to take it in a different direction than the Mos Eisley cantina and yet somehow nail it at the same time. So I'll be taking notes. I'll be taking
that
notes.
that is something that you see a lot of people kind of take a stab at. So I feel like that's probably why I've waited so long to take a stab at it. But I've got a lot of ideas going. It's going to be like a bi-level thing going on and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm working on seating. I tried my first little chair. This is for the apartment building, but this is it's got like little leather pads and everything.
Looks awesome, man. That looks fantastic.
But and they fit on it and everything. It's pretty well scaled. But I'm trying to work on some benches and stuff. But yeah,
Yep.
it's a good time.
Well, hey, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this comes along. And episode 2 was a banger, dude. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And do you mind coming back in a couple months? We'll follow up and see what's going on then.
Sign me up.
All right, man. All right. Well, listen, we've come up against the time wall, so we're going to call this one done. We will check you out soon. Galactic Artisan Customs is a regular on the Stoned and Hyper show. That's actually coming up this Saturday, as a matter of fact. So from 8 to 11, Saturday nights, every other Saturday. So I encourage you, if you're a customizer or a diorama builder, Galactic Artisan Customs. I call him GAC, and he's always there. The Stone Mandalorian, who's no slouch himself, is there doing all kinds of stuff. So I encourage you, if you're interested in collecting and hobbying, come join us. Come join Galactic Artisan Customs and myself on the Stone and Hyper Show.
It's always good to hang out and talk Star Wars with you guys.
It is cool. It is cool. And we're trying to get Stoned. Stone is, he's getting into the diorama thing. I keep telling him, once you do that, man, that's where it's at. We got to keep pushing him. We got to keep pushing him.
You on the show, so he's getting there.
He's getting there. That's right. Well, man, you're one of my favorites. Thank you so much, and we will call this one done, and we will see you soon. All right, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, and we'll do this again.
Thanks. Hyperdrive out.